Ever feel like losing weight is just impossible, no matter how many diets you try? For years, I thought the same. Until I started making food I truly loved. After losing 75 pounds and creating 170 recipes, meals like this creamy beef and shells are a game changer. So in this video, I'm gonna show you exactly how to meal prep a whole month's worth in just 90 minutes, so you can finally see real results too. Let's get into it. Right off the bat, let's get a pot preheating on medium heat and start cranking that oven up to 500 degrees. Now I gotta give credit where it's due. Jim and Tara from Sip and Feast inspired me to start testing this recipe after I saw theirs. And yeah, I know, the pot's massive. You can probably bathe a toddler in it. But don't worry, you don't need one this big. I'll show you what to use instead in just a second. However, when you're cooking in bulk like this, bigger tools aren't just helpful, they're necessary. I bought and tested several pots while creating this recipe, and this one came out on top. I'll be using it in plenty of future recipes, so if you plan on batch prepping more of my meals and want to save hours in the kitchen every month, it's a solid investment. Now, if you don't want to spend money on a larger pot, no problem. Just use a 5.5 quart pot and divide the ingredients by 3 to make 6 to 7 servings. That's actually how I first tested this recipe before adding it to my cookbook, Diet Cheat Codes, for owners to enjoy. Grab 6 pounds of 93.7 ground beef and plop it down on a sheet pan. Flatten it into an even layer and coat with 27 grams of salt. Now turn your oven to broil on high and place the pan about 6 inches from the broiler. This not only cooks the beef faster, but gives it an incredible browning across the top. Let it go for 25 to 30 minutes. Grab a bowl and toss in 810 grams of pre-diced frozen onions. This significantly cuts down on both prep and cook time. No chopping necessary, and they saute faster too. But is the flavor still the same? You already know I had to test it to make sure we're getting the best flavor possible.
First things first, the fresh cut onions took 4 times longer than these. 5 minutes, 20 minutes. The fresh ones have a lot more body to them and flavor. I would say about 15 to 20%. Texture's not really there, but definitely still tastes like sauteed onions, but you could tell something is off. After you boil this with all the other ingredients, it's just important that you get that saute taste, because once these both get boiled in tomato sauce and bone broth, the texture is not gonna matter anymore. And for the 15-minute time savings, the frozen ones are by far the superior option for speed, simplicity, and just an overall easier time in the kitchen and less stressful time in the kitchen.
With all the advantages, plus the fact that onions aren't even a main flavor in this dish, frozen wins every time. Microwave the onions for 4 to 6 minutes or until lukewarm to soften them, then drain any extra liquid. That'll speed things up once they hit the hot pot, saving us time, and time is money. Speaking of the hot pot, add 40 grams olive oil to the pot, followed by our onions and 3 grams of salt. Why salt the onions? Because you want every ingredient seasoned properly so the whole dish tastes good and not just one part. While that's sauteing, sprinkle 21 grams of gelatin into 1,420 grams of bone broth. The gelatin's going to help thicken everything up, while the bone broth adds extra protein and a deep beef flavor to the dish. We also need 80 grams of garlic. However, peeling that much by hand would take forever, so here's another time-saving move. Buy the pre-peeled kind. It comes in an 85-gram pack, which is perfect. Just toss the cloves in a garlic press and mince one by one. While we're prepping everything else, make sure to stir the onions every couple of minutes so they brown evenly and don't burn. The last thing we have to prep is the tomatoes. I'm using Cento San Marzanos for this. If you want something cheaper, you can use whatever brand you like, but unlike the onions, the tomatoes are one of the main flavor components in this dish. Because of that, I'd rather spend a little extra cash money. The difference between cheap and quality tomatoes is night and day. Kind of like how different you feel after a bad night's sleep compared to a good one. When you get a good night's sleep, you aren't as hungry, make better gains in the gym, and have a way better mood. My girlfriend's bed was giving me hip and lower back pain, so I ordered her a Bear mattress, sponsor of today's video, and I've been sleeping like a king ever since. It arrived at her door, we unboxed it, and boom, a full mattress in literally seconds. I was honestly worried about the quality since it comes rolled in a box, but they give you a 120-night sleep trial, so if it isn't for you, you could send it back. Within a week, we both agreed it's the best mattress we've owned, and I've had two from big name, higher priced brands over the past few years. We took the sleep quiz and landed on the Elite Hybrid medium firmness, which gives great support for the hips and lower back while still feeling like we're sleeping on a cloud. We love our Bear mattress, and I think you would too. If you're looking to upgrade your sleep, head to bearmattress.com/E4CM and use code E4CM to get 40% off your Bear mattress. That's a higher discount than what's being offered on site, so check them out while you can. Now, let's take 3 cans of tomatoes, or 2,382 grams, and use an immersion blender to make them smooth. If you prefer a chunkier sauce, you can break the tomatoes up by hand instead. It just takes a bit longer, while the immersion blender gets it done in about 90 seconds. At this point, the onion should be done cooking and look like this. Make a small space in the center of the pot and add our garlic, along with 6 grams of black pepper and 3 grams of crushed red pepper. Let it saute for about a minute or until your house smells amazing, then give everything a mix. Now add our tomatoes, gelatin broth, 100 grams of water, and 12 grams of salt to the pot, then give it another good stir. You'll see why we add more salt later. Hint: every ingredient needs seasoning, just like the onions. Like this video. Let our sauce come up to a simmer. At this point, our ground beef should be done, so let's check on it. And after 25 minutes under the broiler, would you look at that? Pure flavor. The Maillard reaction did its thing across the entire surface. Just be careful when you take it out. There's a lot of water that leaked out during cooking. But don't worry, we're using everything on that sheet pan. Let it cool for 5 to 10 minutes, and while it's cooling, we'll prep the last of our ingredients. Add 540 grams of 2% evaporated milk to a medium bowl. In another bowl, add 126 grams of grated Parmigiano Reggiano and stick it in the fridge. You can grate it fresh, but we're all about saving time today, so pre-grated works perfectly fine. Just make sure it's the authentic Parmigiano Reggiano. If all you have is the green bottle parm, that'll work too, but using ingredients like San Marzano tomatoes and authentic Parmigiano Reggiano really takes this meal up a level. You can legitimately taste the difference. Lastly, let's get some fresh basil ready. On a plate, weigh out 30 grams and refrigerate it. It might look like a lot, but it shrinks down considerably once it hits the hot liquid and adds even more flavor as it sits in the pasta over the next few days. Now grab the greatest tool known to man, the meat chopper, and start breaking down the beef. Be careful at first, since the meat might still be hot, and even if it's not, the juices can splash and stain your clothes. After about 8 minutes, our meat should look like this. Mix it with the beef juices to rehydrate it because there's nothing but pure flavor on this sheet pan. Perfect timing too, because our pot should be starting to simmer. Carefully add the ground beef and keep the sheet pan off to the side for later. Speaking of later, I'm gonna put the reheating instructions for both the fridge and freezer in the pinned comment below. It's super easy and takes about 5 minutes, even from frozen. I just ate one from 2 months ago, and it still tasted nearly identical to the day it was made, and it'll last several more months in the freezer too. Give everything a good mix so the beef is spread evenly throughout. I like to scrape the bottom of the pot as I go to make sure nothing sticks or burns. About 1 to 2 minutes later, or once the pot comes back up to a simmer, add 2 boxes or 908 grams of medium shell pasta. Why medium shells? You'll see soon. Mix everything together so the pasta is fully submerged in liquid. That 12 grams of salt we added earlier, it's gonna help season the pasta as it cooks. Now there's nothing to do but stir and scrape the bottom of the pot every couple of minutes while our noodles cook. After 7 to 8 minutes, add 1 bag or 454 grams of frozen peas and our evaporated milk. The peas add volume, fiber, and a little texture contrast. I love when the peas and beef get stuck in the shells too, which which is exactly why I went with this pasta shape. The evaporated milk adds a creaminess that gives you that rich cream-based sauce vibe for a fraction of the calories of heavy cream. Give everything a stir and cook the pasta until it's al dente. Based on testing, this takes about 8 to 10 minutes. When you want to see if it's done, just spoon out a noodle to check for doneness. And remember, keep stirring and scraping the bottom of the pot every couple of minutes. This looks perfect, so pull the pot off the heat, add the parm and basil, and mix it all together. Once everything's melted in, it'll look like this. And I know it's a bit watery right now. Trust me when I say, once this starts to cool, the gelatin, starch, and parm will do their thing and thicken it all up. Speaking of which, don't let this sit in the pot or the noodles will overcook. As soon as we're done mixing, spread half the pasta onto the sheet pan we used for the beef and the other half onto a second sheet pan. This is a great time-saving hack because the noodles will stop cooking instantly and you'll be able to start portioning in about 10 minutes instead of waiting an hour and having mushy noodles. And overcooked noodles are the last thing I want you eating. That's exactly why I test every recipe repeatedly until it's perfect, especially before adding it to diet cheat codes. Thousands have lost weight and kept it off using my recipes. Why? It doesn't feel like a diet when you're eating pizza, cheesecake, and ice cream every day. Get VIP early access to recipes like this one and use code E4CM for 10% off. While we wait, let's get our container situation sorted because we've got a problem. There's never enough freezer space. Between all the meal preps and the Scoopology protein ice creams from my cookbook that I keep stocked for dessert, we need containers that actually fit. These plastic ones I normally use for regular meal preps are just way too big. I also wanted something that would save you time by eliminating daily dishes. I tested several types of containers and lids, and the best combo for both time and money ended up being these containers with these lids. I do have to give a quick shout out to Stealth Health though. His containers were my personal favorite because of their quality while being totally compostable and plastic free, but they're about 3 times the price. Now let's line up 20 of our winning containers and start portioning our creamy beef in shells. For those of you that want to make sure your calories are perfectly even, each container should get about 400 to 410 grams of pasta. Now you have 1 meal a day covered for an entire month. You still have a major issue though. You have at least 2 other meals every single day. And if you don't plan those out, that's usually when the diet falls apart. So in this video here, I show you how to make a month's worth of burritos in just 90 minutes so you can stay consistent, save time, and never get bored. Until next time, deuces.